So this video is the grid portrait outlining step 1. There'll be a step 2 coming later. So today you're just going to be outlining the face and possibly the nose and ears depending on the situation. Remember, there will be no shading. You're not going to shade at all in any circumstance. You are only doing an outline or a contour. You should not be working on your eyes or mouth. Now, looking at the face here, some people are not getting this. You're only doing outlines today, okay? In this case, you'll see that my chin and my hair are not included, but there is a line here. So I would do this line here. I would do the nose. In this case here, just this main outline. This outline here for my cheek and a bit of my chin. There's not much else. I mean, there's the eyes and the mouth. But there's not, and I don't want to get into the mouth or the eyes now, and that's the important point. Because if you do that, you're not going to get enough detail. In the next couple classes, we're going to talk about double gridding, and that's how you do your eyes and your mouth. So how to do this step basically is to identify a square where you're going to start. So let's say I'm going to start at A1, which is this square down here. And I need to identify that same square in my drawing over here. And I'm going to go over there and let's see if I can move this around. It's not a bad idea to move and cover parts of your paper that you're not going to be using, not looking at, so that you're just isolating. That means separating just the squares that you'll be looking at. Let me zoom in a bit. It's going to get a bit pixelated, but it should be okay. So here we go, A1, A1. Number one, make sure you're on the right square. You should check that regularly, because if you get off to the wrong square at a certain point, everything will be shifted. It will mean that either your face will be squished or it'll be enlarged. It'll just be funny one way or the other, and if you don't fix it, it's just going to look funny. So now I've got over here this little line and this little line here that I'm going to somehow put over here. And what I like to use is, for each square, you're basically looking at one square at a time. I like to use what I guess you could call the vertices of the squares and the midpoints. I don't mark it, but with my eye I mark it. I'm marking it down for you here. So that's the midpoint between these two here. I can also check the midpoint between these two here. And the midpoint is right around there. And that helps me, let's see if I can move this a bit. By identifying that midpoint, it helps me figure out, oh, that's where this line begins, right at that midpoint. So I know that this line here begins right around here, and I can start curving it down. Now, where does it end? It ends on this line. And where does this line begin? Well, this line kind of begins between that midpoint here and the end vertex. So this line here begins somewhere over here. Can you see it okay? Yeah. So I'm going to start drawing this line now, and this line will end down over here, really close to this point over here. So really close to there. That's where this line is going to end. So I'm going to draw that line nice and slowly. Notice I'm using slow lines. I'm not just trying to draw one straight line. And then this line is going to curve down and meet this line kind of closer to the bottom, maybe a third of the way from the bottom. So a third of the way approximately here, that's where this line is going to intersect. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can draw and not block with a shadow. There we go. So now I've kind of drawn, and you can see here, I've drawn this shape over here, this line here, and this line here. And I would just continue then up to here into number 2. There's 2. Now looking at the midpoint here, the midpoint is over here. So this line is to the left of the midpoint. Now I've already got that part there. So I can see there's the midpoint, and it's a bit to the left. So this line is going to kind of come up, and notice I'm doing these slow lines like that and connecting it. Okay, so you're slowly going to go around and do all these lines. And again, in this case, we would do, let's say, the nose, this line over here, but I would avoid the eyes. I would avoid the mouth, because there's a lot of detail in those. Now, if you, for some reason, some people zoom right in and they only end up doing like a very small area, well, come and talk to me. But otherwise, you are just doing the contour. As a reminder, you're doing the face outline, nose and ears, no shading, no eyes or mouth.